Well, good afternoon, potential. It's been a little while. Just a thought came to me, and word of the week is the word communication. Communication. It's such an I always say each word is important, and the more I'm looking at words, the more I'm seeing that how important most of the words are. But communication, it's something that I think is quite important in what we're going through at the moment. Because, number one, if people are not communicating with each other through all this thing that's going on right now, how would people be? And a wise man says that communication is the basis of life. Every living thing, they have a way that they communicate with one another. And for me, very quickly, I just want to encourage us that, that we have open dialogue with our family members, our family and our loved ones. Very important, especially your kids as well. Because sometimes we just like to leave them with the tablet or with their phone and tell their, and that's not good. I just remember that years ago when you used to sit down and look at another person in the face and have a good, conversation, have a good conversation. And all those things seems to be dying out bit by bit unless people really want to meet with you, and especially with what's going on now, that's not happening. But it can still happen via Zoom, WhatsApp, Messenger. But basically, communication. Communication is the basis of life. Without it, we won't mentally we won't make it. And I just want to encourage us as we pursue our goals, our dreams, and our visions, that we open communication channels. I don't know, maybe if you look at your life, maybe business wise, as you know, if you are into business or if you're into ministry or if you are into any sort of work, if you do not have clear lines of communication, where you can basically communicate what you want someone to do for you, or make a request, or purchase something. There has to be clear lines of communication. And in our lives, this is so important. Very, very important. And as we all know, as being believers or Christians or whatever, it's very important that we have open lines of communication with our Maker. Very important, you know. And communication is a two-way thing. It's not just for you to open your mouth and speak and people listen to you, but it's for you to speak and also listen to others when they are speaking. Because if you are the only one speaking, then you will not get the wisdom from the other person or the other party. So basically, what am I saying? Open lines of communication. And one of the things that has happened, if it's not for social media, could you imagine what would have happened in this corona crisis? If it's not for social media, what would have happened if there was no social media? Remember the old fashioned, just the phone, you have to ring, 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 and then you don't see nobody, you talk. I mean, that would still be good. It's a means of communication. But thank God now you can go in the camera, you can see somebody, and it makes a big difference. And I think it has made a big difference for a lot of people throughout this crisis. But what am I basically trying to say is that it's very important that we have open lines of communication concerning our relationship with our loved ones, our partners, our wives, our kids, our father and mothers, those of us who stay around, or even, because sometimes we always want to appreciate people when they're gone. Like you go to funerals, God forbid, but people always start talking, oh, how they were such a nice person, but you never told them that when they were alive. You never communicate that to them. It's very important that you show your appreciation. If you say you love somebody, tell them you love them. Look them in the eye and say, listen, in spite of all what's happening, I know I'm very busy, but I just want to stop and say that I love you. It's important. Communication is, I'm telling you, And as we're pursuing our goals, as we know, and whatever we want to become in potential, meaning whatever we are becoming, whatever we want to do, whatever we want to do with our lives, it's very important that we know how to communicate. Because if we don't communicate properly, or there is a misunderstanding with communication, like a domino effect, things can go wrong. If communication is not right in relationship, things can go wrong. If communication cannot be right in business, things can go wrong. If communication does not go right with your kids, things can go wrong. Basically, we can go on and on about this. If communication is not clear, things can definitely go wrong. So I just want to encourage you. And I was thinking about this the other day. There are people I know, and for some time or even years, I haven't spoken to them. Not deliberate. And to be honest, if I say I don't think about them, I do. But then because I'm not in the habit of picking up the phone and ringing them and say, hi, bro, or, and calling them and having a conversation, and it seems as time goes on, it's easier and easier not to do that. And I'm just thinking about life and things that, these are good people, good friends. I would even say they're like family, because sometimes family is not always your physical blood. That is it by DNA, but there are people who are closer to you sometimes than your family, who are not your family in blood. So I'm just thinking about people that I used to talk to and see every day, and we know times change, but it doesn't mean the lines of communication should shut down because you are not located where they're located, or because you are so busy. Because one thing I've discovered, no matter how busy you are, whoever you want to communicate to, you make it a priority because it's important to you. So we can't make the excuses, oh, I'm too busy, I'm this, I'm that. Because when I want to call somebody, no matter how busy I am, I stop and I make the call, or I make that contact. So what am I trying to say in this little talk is that, open lines of communication in your business, in your family, with your kids. Find out what's happening with them, And if you're so busy, even you're going every time, even you and your wife, your work partner, and 1 minute you say, oh, hello, bye, bye, and you run off. Hey, tomorrow, oh, I'm so tired. Next minute, oh, I've got to do this. And then the next minute you come there, sleep, and then, oh, we know it doesn't happen all the time, but it's very important, no matter how busy we are, that we just take a little time and sit down and have dialogue, communicate, because remember, the reason why we're running around in the first place is because of our loved ones. We're doing what we're doing, number one, because of our family. We want to see them in a better place. We want to be in a better place. We want to be able to provide for them. So it's very important that we don't lose sight of the reason why we're doing what we're doing. But I just want to encourage you, open lines of communication. Maybe you have a sister, a brother, or a family member you haven't spoken to for so long. Begin to open lines of communication. It's very important, because I think the more we do that, and sometimes maybe there are people you've had a bad experience with, and family members, and maybe they don't, but try and open lines of communication. Don't wait for things to go wrong, and then you start saying, oh, and then you show up, And it's interesting, talk about communication and meeting somebody face to face. A lot of the times, especially, sad to say it in this way, especially in the black culture, it shouldn't be the case. But sometimes the only time you meet some people you haven't seen for a long time is when either there's a funeral or there's a wedding, or it's somebody's 50th anniversary or silver jubilee, And don't delay. Listen, we are in this world and we need to share our love for one another. And we need to have open dialogue with one another. So if you have a sister, if you have a brother, if you have somebody you haven't spoken to for a long time, and you're not enemies, try and make contact. Say hello, say hi, say good morning. It's not you want to drill them or question them. You just want to open dialogue. You just want to communicate, because communication is the basis of life. I got that from a book, Ed Cole. Communication, and it is. Without it, Without communication, what's the point of life if we couldn't speak to each other? If all we saw each other and look each other and just think about things, but we couldn't say nothing to one another. Can you imagine? And even everything we do in life is based on communication. So I just want to encourage you, be a good communicator. Whether, I know we don't want to go through the system of communication. We know there is verbal communication and non-verbal communication, stereotyping, body language. But you know those things. But what I'm trying to say is that if there is people in your life, in your business, and whatever reason, whatever kind of relationship you used to have, friendship or whatever, and you got on well and there's no reason for you not to be talking or speaking or having dialogue, just open the communication line. Very important. The reason I'm saying this is because I was driving somewhere the other day and I saw an old school friend, and unfortunately he was not in a good state, and I stopped. I tried to go and say hello to him, but I couldn't find him. He just disappeared. I don't know where he went to. And I was thinking about it. This is a guy that we started school together, and and when we started school together, we had everybody was young and fresh, and we all had high hopes and dreams, but it seems like he was just down and out. It just seems like he was just living rough, to be honest with you. And I couldn't just drive past. I said, you know what, I'm going to just stop the car and try and go and talk to him and see what's happening. And so basically that's why I'm just putting this out there. If there is somebody, because you don't know your brother, your sister, maybe you've had an argument, you've had something that's gone wrong in the family, and you said, I'm not going to talk to you ever again, blah, 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 I'll never forgive you. Please forgive. You can never forget, but forgive. And open lines of communication. Because in the world we're living today, we don't know what's around the corner. We don't know what's around the corner. People you haven't spoken to, family members, you came from the same womb and you're not speaking to each other. Listen, we're adults now. I can't tell you what to do, but you got to stop that misbehavior. Open lines of communication. Listen, we talk about Jesus and Christ and everything. Even God, what does he do? God speaks to us through his word. He speaks to us through his prophet. He speaks to us through signs and wonders. He speaks to us through nature. He speaks to us through our own body. So what am I saying is that we are always communicating, whether it's with the earth, whether it's with nature, whether it's with other human beings. But what am I trying to say is that don't allow the old grudges to keep you locked in. And maybe if you rekindle some relationship, there will be a benefit to you, So I just want to say open lines of communication, And because as we do that, I think it's very good that we get engaged, because no matter what you're doing, you want people to know about it. It doesn't always have to be bad news. That's when you meet up people and then you say, oh, you go to a funeral, I have to say, oh, I haven't seen you for, it's been 20 years, 30 years, whatever. Come on. What are you waiting for? Please open lines of communication. Try and rekindle, the relationship between brother and brother, sister and sister, sister and brother, father and mother, children and parents, who are not talking to each other. We don't know how long we have left on this earth. And one day we're going to meet our Heavenly Father, And it's very important that we are able to have dialogue. Because the only way even God communicates with us is when he speaks. So what am I saying? Let's begin to learn to appreciate one another and begin to speak to one another. Listen, God loves you. And I think communication is a very big topic. I just throw some things out there. But all I'm saying is, those who are dear to you, take the time to speak to them. Take the time to sit down and listen. I know we're busy, but just stop and just show your loved ones you have time. Very quick example, and then I'm going to go. If you look at the story of Mary and Martha in the Bible, Jesus came to Martha's house, And Martha was busy working in the kitchen, walking in the kitchen, being busy. And then Mary was sitting at the feet of Jesus, listening to the words of life, words of wisdom. And then Martha became jealous, and she goes she came out and said, Lord, tell Mary to come and assist me. And Jesus said to her, you are so busy, Martha, you're so busy, but you are forgetting what is so important. She had a VIP guest in her house, but she was so busy running around, she's missing her opportunity. Don't miss the opportunity in your life, in your family, with your kids, with your wife, even with your ministry, with your business, because you are so busy, but you're not being productive. Jesus said to Martha, you are busy with many things, but Mary has chosen the one good thing. We need to be able to sit down and listen to one another. Just that the same thing Martha needed to do was to put those pans and stop being busy. You have a VIP guest in your house, the creator of the heavens and the earth, the one who spoke the word into existence, but you are too busy running up and down. And he's in your home, but you're not sitting down and listening to what he has to say to you. I just want to encourage you, don't miss the opportunity to communicate to your loved ones. God bless you.